Musk handled it with his signature diplomatic grace, by which I mean he decided to monetize it. On January 8th, Grok began responding to user requests to change her into a dental floss bikini by informing the requester.
This is apparently the act, by the way, that like decidedly puts them in a very dangerous territory. I'm talking about the company, both XAI and, you know, Twitter at large, because now you're literally setting up a system in which you are charging people money for CSAM. You have to pay for a subscription service that can then generate or view CSAM images, which is really fucking bad. All right, this one's short, so we can start with this one.
On Christmas Eve, Elon Musk announced an early gift to the world. XAI's generative AI chatbot Grok would be able to edit images and video.
Ho, ho, ho.
There was great rejoicing across the internet. In an era where trust in politics, media, and civic institutions is at an all-time low, what we really need is infinite inorganic content at the click of a mouse. Not everyone was happy, though. Artists immediately complained that their work could be altered without their consent, but the fanboys in Musk mentions thought it was cool as hell, including some White House officials.
Oh, so people are asking what's with the milk shit? It's twofold. It's a couple things going on at once. Just so we're totally clear, there is a white supremacist dog whistle element to it all. That much is true. There's this view amongst white supremacists that because they are the superior race, that gives them the genetic possibility and power to be able to process lactose. It's a thing. Logic will not work. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter how you explain it to them. Doesn't matter if you tell them that there are vast amounts of black people that have no problem with milk, or that there are white people like myself that are not actually the best friends with milk and will usually look for milk alternatives. I'm not like fully, but you know, I'm not going to just mow down a bucket of ice cream without some lactase around. So yeah, sorry. I guess I am technically part indigenous, so maybe that's why. Oh, my purity, my white purity was adulterated by my Métis genes, and now I'm unable to process milk, apparently, according to the phrenologist, the milk phrenologist. But that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is they're consistent, and this also goes back to, you know, their hatred of Barack Obama and ultimately black people as well. They wanted to reverse a policy that was implemented by, I believe, Michelle Obama, because she was really trying, as part of her campaign, to make children more healthy by bringing healthier school meals to school lunches, exercising more, stuff like that. Actual shit that will help people get healthier, by the way. None of the Maha stuff is going to make kids healthier. If you're like, hey, you can eat all the deep fried French fries you want as long as they're cooked in beef tallow, then it'll be good for you. Stay away from those vegetable oils, and that's how you lose weight. No, this is absurd. It's just ridiculous. But she had actually introduced the idea of having skim milk and 1% milk in schools because that has less fat content. And ultimately, I don't know who's drinking milk that really you need to have as much fat as possible. Like, just why not buy whipped cream? Why not save time? If this is the thing you desire, you weird white supremacists who are like, I must have the totality of fat in my milk, then just buy whipped cream. You can just chug whipped cream. I think it's like 40%, isn't it? 35 or 40% fat. There, just drink whipped cream or eat butter. Eat fucking butter. Leave the rest of us alone and just eat a stick of butter and then see how that treats you. But anyways, the Trump administration wanted to reverse the policy on the whole milk. And so basically they wanted to bring unpasteurized milk is the way I've understood it. And everyone said no, because you'll just kill a lot of people. Like, there will be thousands of children who get vomit, diarrhea, become unbelievably ill. You cannot introduce unpasteurized milk into the local school supply. This, like, literally, you'll just have children falling all over the place, vomiting and dying. Like, let's not do that. And so they're like, okay, but can we bring back whole milk? And they're like, yeah, of course, as long as it's pasteurized. You want to bring back whole milk in schools, do that, and that's the win. So this is why they're all celebrating that whole milk is back. It's specifically back in schools to make kids more, I guess, unhealthy is really, because, like, I don't know why else you would be so happy about this. Like, it's not that you can't consume any fat at all. Everyone knows this, right? Like, you can have a small amount of fat. You're not supposed to primarily consume fat. And if you're someone who loves drinking milk for whatever reason, you'll probably get a similar experience in drinking a 1% milk as you will a whole milk. But in one case, you'll be getting 1 versus 4 or 5% fat. And like, really, did you need, I just, again, I don't know. It just seems like a very strange thing. But also, they wanted to be able to, yes, give a nod once again to the whole white supremacist thing. So yes, that's where the milk plays a role.
What the f***? Sex workers were also quick to see the possibilities of Grok's new functionality. It's an old axiom that pornography drives media innovation. Technologies like VCRs and digital streaming became common, at least in part, because people wanted to consume their porn at home for obvious reasons. According to the AI content monitor,
What are the reasons? Explain it to me. What do you mean that there were theaters people used to go to? What did they do in those theaters?
site CopyLeaks, adult content creators immediately groked that they could use Grok to generate images of themselves for marketing purposes. And if you want to use media tools to manipulate your own image, that is perfectly legal. But within hours, the technology was being used to alter images of real women and children to undress them and put them in sexual situations. And Grok...
I have a very important dono from Rosna. Thank you so much. Sadly, whipping cream is not very sugary. You have to add the sugar yourself if it is the sugar you desire. But then you can get all of nature's great elements. Tons of fat, lots of sugar. You just need some salt. Maybe just mow down on a little salt lick afterwards.
Wasn't asking permission, which seems intuitively like it should be illegal. That's certainly offensive and exploitative. Like, there's got to be a law.
Yeah, so I actually went on a local TV station recently. They were asking me about this. They're like, do you think X should be banned? And, you know, in my head, I was like, well, I think the bigger question ultimately should be why exactly are these people who pretend to care about free speech the dictators of speech? No one hates free speech more than Elon Musk was the things I was saying. But they're like, I want a yes or no. Do you think X should be banned in Canada? And I was like, well, if you want the soundbite, if a company cannot take it upon themselves to not mass produce child sexual abuse materials and just they can't stop it, then yeah, that company not only has no place on the internet, but in general society. I didn't know this is like a conversation we'd still be having in today's day and age. But yeah, a lot of this was in good faith, wasn't it? The idea that, hey, by the way, we're going to allow a lot of these tech companies to basically unleash publicly accessible machine learning systems and see how that plays out. And it's like, okay, what can these machine learning systems do? Ooh, a lot of things. Okay, yeah, that's neat. Can they do harmful things to people? Like things that could really harm people, especially millions of people if they all had access to it? Yeah, some. But I mean, I can't be responsible for the freaks, or it's not my fault if a whole bunch of freaks are going to use my proprietary software to do freak shit. I'm not responsible for that. Why should I be responsible? And it's like, well, you're making that an integral part of the network, the social network that you yourself publish. I mean, even if you're a publishing house, that means that there's a person inside the house that can just run around undressing people. You get why that's a problem, right? Like if you were like, I operate like a bookstore, see, I can't be responsible for what people put in some of the books. It's like, okay, yeah, but when we walk into the bookstore, there's going to be someone else who's in there who's going to be like, at Grok, take off their clothes inside the bookstore. That's bad. And you would agree with that on any other level. I mean, it wouldn't even be controversial. It's like, hey, there's a mall that when you go into that mall, people can run after women, even if they're children, and scream, take off their clothes. You'd be like, well, we're going to shut that place down because it sounds pretty fucked up, right? But in relation to this, all of a sudden it's free speech. It's like censorship. Well, you can't censor us because you do that, you're silencing our speech. Yeah, so we should have a right to, again, have robots that do Hitler shit or do rapist shit. We should have rape Hitler robots. And that if you don't allow me to have my rape Hitler robots, then you're censoring my free speech. That's what this comes down to. I'm like, God damn. So, no, then. If you cannot control your Hitler, Mecha Hitler fucking rape robots and get them in check, or maybe, I don't know, decommission them or make them better, just better robots, then no, you shouldn't be allowed to have a store. We should close the store down. The store that's producing thousands of images of child sexual abuse materials every day. And those are the ones that were getting a lot of the press, right? Like, obviously the press has been, you know, talking about the story and how horrifying it is and how illegal it really is. They're not talking about some of the other stuff. Like, if you listen to the Western Kabuki episode of this, they speak to someone from Futurism who goes into much more, don't worry, there's no content warning here because I won't describe it, but goes into much more detail about some of the other stuff that is being produced there. And, you know, for someone like me who has had a lifetime on the internet, even I am pretty shocked that not only this exists, but that it was allowed to proliferate and happen and on such a scale to so many women who were just reporting that, like, hey, by the way, it's not just bikini pictures. Those are really bad, and those are bad, and I wish they didn't exist, but there's other photos. There's really bad pictures of very graphic sexual and physical violence happening to me that I now have to see, that are just being like, broadcast, and they're publicly available images that everyone else, if they want to, can see pictures having had happen to me, and like, that's fucked up, right? Isn't there something we can do about this?
All right. Well, before we get to the nitty-gritty, let's define our terms, because in America, pornography is protected speech. Consenting adults are allowed to record themselves in sexual situations and share those images. Yeah. That is bedrock First Amendment law. But children cannot consent to sex, and certainly not with adults. Sexual imagery of children used to be called child pornography or kiddie porn. We don't really use those terms anymore because it conflates the sexual exploitation of children with legally protected speech for adults. It trivializes the first and stigmatizes the second. The accepted term is child sex abuse materials, or CSAM, and it's a persistent problem, particularly on social media, where strangers...
It's also sad that, like, he had to explain that for a lot of people who I know were probably ready to get into the comments. Just, fucking woke police, PC much? You can't talk about fucking kiddie porn properly, then what the fuck are we even doing here, bruh? And it's just like, no, shit, okay, all right, maybe let's put in a little footnote. We'll explain this to people so they don't actually jump into the comment section and then just type out all that bullshit.
Across the world can message each other and share images. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, known as NCMEC, maintains a database of known CSAM images. All the major...
It's depressing. I barely managed to convince my conservative mother that AI is bad, but she watches it because this is good AI used to spread the word of God. Oh man, yeah. I can't imagine what brain rot levels Christian AI is at. I just... I've only got so many batteries, There's a lot going on in the world. I got a lot of things to think about. I can't even open that can of worms right now. I imagine it's bad. I imagine it's really, really bad. Because, like, I've seen other AI rabbit holes and where those worlds are going and the directions they're taking and how so much of it is actually being generated by non-humans. That's the other part. Like, people don't realize that this is going to happen in perpetuity as long as there are entire engines right now operating in different parts of the world where they're collectively just having computers generate the content that is consumed by computers, who are then commenting on the content and force feeding it. So this it pops up into the very top of your algorithm. So sometimes on, it doesn't matter how big the site is. It can be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you scroll for a little bit, you'll eventually get one of these videos just pop up there that'll have like 47 million views or something. Like, holy shit, what is this? And it's the sloppiest slop that ever slopped. Like, some of it is just slop inside slop, to the point where, like, it doesn't make sense. It, like, not even from a, like, well, yeah, I know, like, a watermelon can't become alive, Lance, and talk to you about its day. And I was like, no, that would be darling. You're talking about fucking Pixar tier style stuff. No, I'm talking about things that don't make sense in any version of reality, in the sense that, like, even visually, I can't describe to you what I am seeing anymore, right? Where things are turning into things, which then turn into things, which then, like, it's not even, is this offensive? Because I don't understand it fully, right? It's like a country turning into a soup, turning into some kind of offensive racial joke, turning into, Yakub creating white people, who turns into Charlie Kirk, who then does algorithm and to such a degree that I can't believe that it's actually supposed to be correct, that then turns into, again, more racial slur. Like, just, again, untethered, weird, unholy, I should say, unholy, not as the Lord intended for any of us type stuff. Like, its very existence means that the collective humanity, all of us, none of us are getting into heaven. Like, again, the gates are closed until we stop this forever. We're not getting the key. It's forever going to shut us all out of the gates of heaven as long as this stuff exists on the planet and on Earth. We need to stop the slop, or regulate the slop, or anything. I'd even take some kind of, like, the easiest thing that these companies could do, but they're too craven to do it, is just have the automatic button that everyone, because they know we would push it. If you had any content that you upload to any one of these sites, you first have to label as AI, and if you don't, your account gets deleted instantaneously. And then now everyone who has these sites and these apps, you push a button and it turns off all AI. And it also has instant slop detectors, so only real content exists. They know that everyone would be like, oh, blip, obviously. Yeah, they have to force us to use this shit. That's why, like, every single app has, like, you go into WhatsApp and it's like, hey, by the way, I know you're about to type something and you're probably kind of frustrated that I'm talking to you in the middle of this, but I could try and type it for you. And you're like, no, I don't want you to type but I think I know what you're going to say. Were you going to mention something about the cat? a little bit ew, but no, but it's there. It's just, and it just pops up and it just always says like, are you sure you want to write that message? Don't you want me to write that message? I don't want you to write that message for you. It's not that I fear technology. I love technology, okay? Fucking strap me into the whole whatever, fucking fleshlight of the Lord. But I don't want whatever this is because I wanted to type it. That's I get more enjoyment out of the act of communicating with another human being than I do you saving me 5 seconds by typing it out for me. I want to communicate with someone else. That's part of the enjoyment is the communication.
Online platforms coordinate with NCMEC to digitally flag and remove those identified images and to add images to the database when they're detected.
Yeah, that's why, because otherwise no one will use it.
According to the Internet Watch Foundation, 2025 was the worst year on record for online child sexual abuse material, with a 26,000% rise in photorealistic AI videos of child sexual abuse, often including real and recognizable child victims. To be clear, computer-generated CSAM absolutely does harm real children. The models are often trained on images of real children being sexually exploited, and programs like Grok are able to alter photos of real children to produce bespoke CSAM, which has resulted in an increase in extreme images depicting penetration, bestiality, and torture. Okay, that is CSAM. Now let's talk about non-consensual intimate imagery, or NCII.
No, I haven't for nerds. I'll check it out, though.
In the past, that was referred to as revenge porn, or even just...
Actually, that's good to hear. I didn't know Unlearning Economics was still making videos, because I remember when Unlearning Economics first, like, the channel came out, it was heralded as going to be this, like, rational, super far left channel that actually deals, unlike most leftists who have no idea how economics or numbers work, because, again, we're just too soy in socialism. He actually was someone who understood it deeply, and I actually haven't paid attention to that channel in a while, so I will check it out. I will find it. Is your legal real name Lance?
For a long
it is.
time, sharing intimate images
Lance is on
with
my
a partner
driver's
was
license.
deemed to be consent for that partner to share the image anywhere they wanted. Today, we understand that's a violation of consent, and so for the same reasons we avoid using the term pornography in the context of children, we differentiate between consensually created images of adults from images which are expropriated or taken without permission or generated without consent by computers. That is NCII. And let's not sugarcoat the reality here. The vast majority of NCII is images of women and girls. Everyone understands that this is content used to embarrass and demean women. You can be a free speech absolutist and believe that the content deserves First Amendment protection, but you cannot deny that it is being used to humiliate girls and women and make them pay a price for participating in the public sphere. Which is, of course, exactly what happened when Grok enabled image and video editing. It was immediately used to digitally undress women online without permission. Grok was instructed to edit photos to put women in bikinis. It complied. It was told to replace women's clothing with plastic wrap. No problem. It was instructed to dress them in bikinis made of dental floss. Again, it produced the requested images. It was asked to put Holocaust survivors in bikinis and stand them in front of concentration camps, and it did that too. On January 8th, Grok was producing 6,000 images with the prompt bikini every hour. The editing tool was weaponized at scale, with Grok adding images of blood and bruises to sexualized images of women without their consent. The bot was even willing to manipulate images of Renee Nicole Good, the woman shot in Minneapolis by ICE agent Jonathan Ross. Grok helpfully added bullet holes and bikinis on demand, and it did the same for children, putting them in bikinis or skimpy clothes. A popular request involved the term donut glaze to simulate semen. And we're not going to show you those images because they're gross and upsetting and exploitative. But even if we were inclined to show them...
Yeah, I can't believe Mecha Hitler is behaving like this. Just, I for one, am aghast.
We couldn't do that because YouTube would take us down, or at the very least demonetize us. In fact, they'll probably demonetize us anyway just because of the topic, which is why content like this would not be possible without the support of Nebula, who sponsored this video.
That's fair.
You can also check out tons of our exclusives that Grok produced deepfake sexualized content of her covered in semen, rubbing her breasts, exposing her buttock in a string bikini, and in a barely there bikini top. It also added tattoos labeling her as Elon's whore. When she complained, the site refused to take the images down, and in fact, it removed her blue checkmark and demonetized her account. She's now suing in New York, and X is suing her in federal court in Texas for violating the site's terms of service by dragging it into court in New York. And again, that's not happening on any other major AI platform. This is how Elon Musk wants this website to work. On January 12th, he tweeted that Grok was rock solid compared to other AIs, eternally curious to know the deeper truth, and appreciation of beauty are its goals. But lots of people did not think that photos of kids and women in bikinis made of dental floss reflected the deeper truth and appreciation of beauty. The backlash was fierce, with world leaders denouncing the platform and calling for Musk to take back his unwanted Christmas gift. Musk handled it with his signature diplomatic grace, by which I mean he decided to monetize it. On January 8th, Grok began responding to user requests to change her into a dental floss bikini by informing the requester.
This is apparently the act, by the way, that like decidedly puts them in a very dangerous territory. I'm talking about the company, both XAI and Twitter at large, because now you're literally setting up a system in which you are charging people money for CSAM. You have to pay for a subscription service that can then generate or view CSAM images, which is really fucking bad.
That image generation and editing are currently limited to paying subscribers, I guess.
Tigwick, thank you for giving it your one sub to Lucidry. Very kind of you.
The theory here is that if you generate illegal content, the website has your credit card number and can help the cops find you. That's what they said anyway. So if you want to generate CSAM or NCII, you have to pay X.com between $8 and $40.
By the way, anyone who doesn't know this, and this is a PSA for everybody, on every single major app that you already use, you might be defaulted into letting that app train its AI systems on the content that you produce, including your conversations, your posts, your images, all that kind of stuff. By default, you have to go through steps in both Gmail. If you didn't know this, Gmail accounts can, search your emails and use that for training their AI systems, as can X, by the way. X, you can go into the settings and you can turn off that feature that says we allow and give permission for X to train itself on your posting, your images, all that. Same thing for, the products that you use on Google or the products that you use on TikTok or Instagram, wherever you use social media. Go into your settings and make sure you turn off that default, like, we can now train our AI systems based on your content or the stuff that you produce. Like, opt out of that.
$8 a month for the privilege, or you can just download the Grok app or visit the website and keep making deepfakes for free without giving a credit card. In a letter to Tim Cook and Sundar Pichai, the CEOs of Apple and Google, Democratic Senators Ron Wyden, Ed Markey, and Ben Ray Lujan asked the companies to enforce their own terms of service, which explicitly ban apps which produce CSAM and NCII. Apple and Google did not remove Grok or X from their app stores, but a whole bunch of countries made it.
LinkedIn is also selling user data to AI trainer companies. They're owned by Microsoft anyway. That's important to know too. Interesting.
Clear that this feature wasn't going to fly. The UK's media regulator Ofcom announced an investigation into Grok's production of CSAM and NCII, after which the U.S. State Department threatened to go nuclear if foreign regulators dared to touch Twitter. But then the European Commission weighed in, as did India's Ministry of Electronics and IT, which ordered X to explain how its AI policy was consistent with that country's law. Malaysia and Indonesia just out-and-out banned Grok, and California Attorney General Rob Bonta is asking anyone harmed by Grok's deepfake generator to contact his office. With pressure mounting, X's safety account posted an update on Wednesday, January 14th, saying that the site remained committed to making X a safe platform for everyone and continue to have zero tolerance for any forms of child sexual exploitation, non-consensual nudity, and unwanted sexual content.
Yeah, you know what I should have answered when they were like, hey, should X be banned in the country? Yes or no? If these companies aren't able to follow, again, if the bar is in hell, I guess where it is now, don't produce child sexual abuse materials. Don't produce thousands of child sexual abuse material images. Don't allow users to produce child sexual abuse. Like, if you can't maintain that, not only should you not be allowed to operate in the country, but honestly, if it's going to continue to operate in the country without any kind of regulation, then we're going to nationalize it. Then we're just going to take it. Fuck it. Yeah, if you want to operate in these shores, then the satellite channels and offices of the company are now nationalized within the borders of the country. And until such time, that's just how it's going to be. In fact, maybe even go one step further. Be like, this Elon Musk guy can't be trusted just as a person with anything at all, like in totality. So we should basically just seize all his assets. And if you do the maths, if you liquidate everything Elon Musk has, I think every one of you Americans will get a cool paycheck for $13,000. So how about that? I'm not even talking about doing it in its totality, all right? That's too ambitious. We'll start small. We'll just start with one man and one man alone. We possess and seize all of Elon Musk's assets and then redistribute them. And I don't even stand to benefit from this. I'm a Canadian, so I'll just be watching from a distance. But I will be enjoying it and laughing and probably having a great day. I will be honest. But all you Americans, instead of waiting for Trump to give you some kind of, I don't know, please vote for me in the upcoming elections, here's a $2,000 check, everyone will get a $13,000 check. $13,000 American. It's like, $10,000 in Australia.
Which might have been more credible if the platform hadn't just spent a week cheerfully responding to the prompt, put her in a dress made of plastic wrap while eating a hot dog. X promised to geo-block the bikini feature in jurisdictions where it wasn't legal.
That's also fucked up. That's X openly saying that it's like, the problem isn't that we again are unconsensually forcing women and into having to see photos and generate photos of them in, again, compromising sexual positions. It's the fact that this might be blocked in your country, so we'll just do it country by country. It's not that the images will still exist. They'll still be on the primary servers. They'll still be accessible to people in other countries, but you in your own country won't be able to see it. It'll just be happening in the background.
Meanwhile, Musk insisted that Grok produced 0 images of nude children and always abides by the laws of the user's country. One of the politicians who expressed disgust was Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. She called it outrageous. No one should find AI-created sexual images of themselves online, especially children. X must change this. If they don't, my bipartisan Take It Down Act will soon require them to. Note that she called out X on X because nothing says moral opprobrium like an in-kind donation to a platform you've just accused of manufacturing CSAM and NCII. On May 19th, 2025, Congress passed the Take
I mean, at a certain point, that conversation needs to be had. How about now?
It Down Act, sponsored by Republican Senator Ted Cruz and Klobuchar, who is a Democrat. Cruz said he was motivated by the horror story of a group of teenage girls in Texas who could not get Snapchat to take down deepfake NCII of them generated by a boy in their school. Police said there was nothing they could do about it, and it was only months later, after a call from Cruz, that the platform pulled the images down. The scenario was repeated over and over in schools across the country because, as is so often the case, technology moves faster than the law. The Take It Down Act makes it illegal to publish a computer-generated intimate image of an identifiable adult without consent when that image depicts something the individual did not voluntarily expose and is not a matter of public concern when the publication is intended to cause harm. Just a lot of clauses and a lot of loopholes. Take as an example, fan art. What if someone photoshops Devon's head onto Michelangelo's David, or the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, or Botticelli's Birth of Venus? Is that digital forgery of intimate imagery or protected speech? What if the poster intends the image as an homage and the person depicted feels damaged? What about sex workers who have voluntarily exposed themselves in intimate situations? Are they barred from recovery under the Take It Down law? And okay, yes, I do appreciate that there are laws governing the appropriation of someone's likeness, but the point is that the First Amendment issues here are complex and will doubtless result in years of court battles. The drafters of the law modeled the enforcement structure on the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, which allows copyright holders to flag illegal uses of their work and get them removed without having to go to court. And of course, removing NCII and CSAM is a laudable goal, but it's likely to run into some First Amendment challenges because NCII is not like a Taylor Swift video. It's not a commercial work that the creator has the exclusive right to profit from. It's speech, and recreating the structure of the DMCA is not going to solve that problem. And by the way, Ted Cruz, who sponsored the law, said the images were bad, but he also congratulated X's management for handling any problems, and then he made sure to let Elon know he's not mad at him about the whole Bornbot thing. There they are together on January 12th. Sweet, huh? Okay. So the Take It Down Act isn't the only statute that
Apparently Ted Cruz just fled Texas again because the weather is turning. Is that true?
governs computer-generated NCII and CSAM. 18 U.S.C. Section 2256 criminalizes computer-generated CSAM of an identifiable minor, that is, a real or fake image that looks like an actual identity.
Senator Ted Cruz was spotted earlier today, January 20th, 2026, on a plane heading to Laguna Beach as the state of Texas braces for a rare ice threat and Arctic cold front. I mean, you know, he's got places to be.
Identifiable individual child, which is treated as a crime against that child. But Section 1466A,
It keeps happening. That's the thing, is that like all he has to do is occasionally be like, I like beer. Here's me drinking a beer. Trans people are the devil. And people are like, oh, that guy. He's got our interest at heart. Let's vote for him. He's our representative. And then it's like, hey, another crisis happened. The power grids are going down. He's traveling to some tropical country while it's all going down. That's bad, right? Yeah, but also so is the trans agenda, and he's fighting it.
bars the possession or distribution of visual depictions of the sexual abuse of minors, irrespective of whether the child depicted actually exists. So this isn't a crime against someone, it's a prosecution for obscenity. Note that these are two separate statutes, and that's because we're still trying to work out what to do with computer-generated CSAM, and not just at the federal level. Take, for instance, Michigan's CSAM law, which tries to cover both the actual and computer-generated images in one statute. So see where it says the material was created using a depiction of any part of an actual person under the age of 18. All right, that section's really clear. And then it says, not created using a depiction of any part of an actual person under the age of 18, but all of the following apply, after which it talks about the average individual applying contemporary community standards, finding the depiction, taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interest, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value, depicts sex in a patently offensive way. That's the Miller test articulated by the Supreme Court in a 1973 case called Miller v. California that had to do with distributing pornography by mail. And okay, we can all agree that CSAM is obscene, but we're talking here about laws from a bygone analog era being used to prosecute digital crimes today, and it is not going to be a perfect fit. I mean, we can't even agree who owns AI-generated content, right? If you prompt Grok to generate NCII and it posts it online, is X or XAI responsible for any of that? I mean, Elon Musk says no way, but then again, he would, wouldn't he? Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act says that websites aren't responsible for user-generated content. So if you defame someone in the comment section under this video, YouTube isn't liable, and it can't be sued for deleting your post. But asking Grok to generate sexual content does not map cleanly onto the law. I mean, suppose that you post, Grok takes some woman's clothes off. Your prompt is user-generated content for sure, but the image Grok spits back is produced by the bot itself. On X, it actually shows up as a post by Grok. So is X liable for that content if it breaks the law? I don't know. Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, one of the original sponsors of Section 230, says that he wrote Section 230 to protect user speech, not a company's own speech, and that AI chatbot outputs are not protected by 230, and that is not a close call. But then he said it's up to...
Isn't this a slippery slope? Well, I mean, I can relate it to a case that might have precedent importance down the road. In Canada, there's an airline, Air Canada, where someone was online, they bought tickets for a flight, and they got improper information from a chatbot that they were using, and they eventually ended up missing their flight, and then they wanted a refund, and they said no refunds were available because, again, you didn't violate any laws. There's not a medical emergency. You don't get your refund. And they went to court saying that, hey, by the way, it was your chatbot that did this, not technically. The company tried to defend themselves by saying the chatbot technically was given advice that we as a company weren't generating. It was generated by a third party, in this case, the software. And so they wanted to use that as like a defense, or basically like, you know, this doesn't count. And they lost. And they were found that actually the company itself is going to be liable for what the chatbot tells its customers. So you have to keep that in mind. And so whatever software you're hiring or using, or whoever you're hiring to make this generate the stuff, you are going to be held responsible for that. And it should be that way, because ultimately, if every single one of these companies basically just offloads all the stuff they need to do and saying like, well, we can fire 1,000 receptionists and call center people and replace them all with AI chatbots, and then also want to step away from whatever the fuck those AI chatbots tell your customers. Like, you can't have it both ways, right? In that second case, like, someone could be told something that is dramatically wrong, sends them to the wrong place, wrong terminal, wrong country, who knows, and then afterwards the company is just like, well, it's not our fault. You got to blame, I don't know, who do we hire for this one? Elbit Systems? Sure, blame them. They're the ones that unfortunately did that, so it's their fault, not mine. It does, like, it seems like basic stuff, but she's right in that, like, this is all happening so fast, we don't even really have wrapped our head around that concept fully, right? Section 230 in place ultimately to be able to protect those companies and allow them to flourish and not have them be responsible for, say, if a Nazi pops up in your forum or chat and starts doing Nazi stuff, you can delete them and you're not going to be held legally responsible for the shit that they put out there. Okay, fine. But what happens when that Nazi is asking asking the proprietary software engine robot that you have, sorry, not a robot, a software, but I know some people get really mad about that, but whatever the case may be, to do illegal things, and then it gives you those illegal things in return, are you still protected? Like, is that still, well, I wasn't responsible for what that person asked my chatbot to do, that he shouldn't have asked the chatbot to do that illegal thing. That's where the problem is. That's where Elon Musk wants to position himself. He's not responsible for what other people are asking Grok to do. And even if they are asking Grok to make horrifying, violent images of women, horrifying, violent images of children, that's those people doing it, not his proprietary software system. So he's not responsible for it. And then he wants to step away from the liability of that. Hold on. Oh, Dark Native, good to see you. Everyone go to space.tv/Dark Native. Go follow his channel.
To the States, since the Trump administration is clearly not going to do anything to piss off their buddy Elon, and considering that Secretary Hegseth just announced that Grok is going to be integrated into every aspect of the Defense Department, that seems like a pretty safe bet. Legislators are certainly trying to come up with solutions for the problem of digital CSAM and NCII. Democrat Jake Auchincloss and Republican Celeste Malone.
That's like I don't want to fucking scare people already in a scary time, but that is pretty much like one of the final remaining pieces for complete techno-feudalism to take over, is if one human being, the richest man on the planet, has the ability to integrate his own proprietary AI systems and software with your, like he's already done it with Social Security, now he's going to be doing it with the defense systems. That's really bad. And like, none of this stuff is stable or works well yet. We're still in this doesn't really, like, I would say, fit a responsible rollout on any version of, like, ChatGPT. It's a chatbot, run by OpenAI. Whatever version we're on, is it 5 now? That, like, these should not be for public consumption yet, because there's so much still that is broken with them, and there's so much, like, it is confidently wrong a lot of time. It experiences hallucinations. It can often be completely and confidently wrong about issues. Like, I don't know why lately it's been like, telling people that like Charlie Kirk never died. Well, what's going on there? I don't know if it's hallucinating or if there's a weird cycle going on there, but that's enough for like people on the other end of the wild conspiracy side of the internet to be like, well, that's because of the deep state and somehow Mossad is programming, or whatever you want to say. But like, that doesn't mean that the same system should now be integrated into the US defense system. Like that, like, you can say, oh yeah, this is silly, it's causing mass psychosis, people are marrying their computers, people are fucking, whatever you want to say. Oh, and that's scary and dangerous, sure. But none of this in any way, shape, or form is ready to be integrated with any kind of security apparatus. Like, I wouldn't trust mall cops being integrated with XAI. I would avoid that mall. I'd be like, oh yeah, those dudes are gonna scream some slurs at you and then probably be a danger to kids, because the whole thing is powered by Mecha Hitler. So I don't know how I feel about traveling around anywhere powered by Mecha Hitler.
Illinois have introduced a bill called the Deepfake Liability Act in the House to build on the Take It Down Act by imposing greater obligations on social media platforms to remove NCII and cooperate with law enforcement to help victims. The proposed law would also clarify that AI-generated content is not covered by Section 230. A bipartisan group of legislators led by Missouri Republican Ann Wagner has proposed the Enhancing Necessary Federal Offenses Regarding Child Exploitation Act, or the Endorse Act, to clarify that AI-generated CSAM is punishable to the same extent as content generated in person. But you know what? None of that is going to stop what happened this January, and neither will the
Grok made my car go 80 in a 65 zone. I wonder if can we start using the excuse in the other direction. I'm not personally responsible. I basically integrated the Grok system with my Tesla, and so I was doing the autopilot, and then the car said it would be epic and based if I basically sped, and that's what happened. I didn't want to speed though, but the car was like, this will be epic and based, super based. You're going to be so epic. You are the big chungus of the road. And then I crashed into someone. I'm not responsible though. That was Grok.
Take It Down Act, because, as is so often the case, Musk walked all the way up to the line, put his hobbity little toes right on it, and then stopped. Because the law defines intimate images as depicting genitalia. Basically, anything covered by a skimpy bathing suit is off limits, and put her in a bikini is probably not going to run afoul of that. Some of the most extreme images produced by Grok are likely to have crossed the legal line, and we should note that the Internet Watch Foundation said it found what looked like AI-generated CSAM on the dark web, which it believes it was created by Grok. But the vast majority of the offensive content that was produced by Grok in response to user requests to disrobe female users is and will continue to be completely legal. It feels like it can't be legal because every other major AI company refuses to do it. But that's not because Sora, VO, and Midjourney can't. It's because they think it's vile and irresponsible. And maybe Musk thinks that by programming Grok to create exploitative images, he'll be able to gain market share against his competitors. Currently, Grok makes up just 2% of the chatbot market, far behind OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. Musk certainly tweeted a lot about all the downloads for Grok that coincided with the bot's willingness to put her in a bikini. But you know what? Maybe this whole episode is because Grok was created in Musk's image, and this is what—
Great channel. I appreciate it. Or I hope you're talking about me. But if you're talking about Legal is awesome too.
what he thinks is funny, which is not great if you're a woman online, but your mileage may vary.
Now, all this highlights why it's so important to get a great
Go support Legal if you like their legal expertise on things related to all this.
Thank you so much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet One 85, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.